Family court question nobody wants to answer. Can I ask you a question? What if two people walked into the same courtroom, sat through the same hearing, listened to the same judge, and both walked out believing they'd been treated unfairly? How is that possible? Seriously, how is that possible? Because that's what fascinates me about family court. Not the arguments, not the allegations, not the law, the stories. The stories people tell themselves afterwards. Because recently I saw an article claiming the researchers found examples of what they called victim blaming in around 72% of family court judgments they reviewed. Now watch what happens next. Some people hear that and think, finally, proof mothers aren't being listened to. Others hear exactly the same thing and think, funny that. Where's the study about false allegations against fathers? Same article, same words, completely different conclusions. And why? Because most people aren't actually listening. They're searching for evidence that confirms that what they already believe. And if you spent any time around family court, you'll know this is where things get interesting, because almost everybody thinks that they're the reasonable one. Have you noticed that? Everyone thinks that they're the reasonable. Nobody's the villain in their own story. Yeah, no one. And nobody sits there saying, to be fair, I handled things terribly in my divorce. No one. No, well, actually I do, but actually, no, but no one says, no one actually, not many people come clean and say, do you know what? Actually, I was quite manipulative. Yeah, I was quite a bit bad. Nobody says, I might have made things a little bit worse there. No one does it. Everybody's got a monster, an ex, a judge, a social worker, a solicitor, a system, someone to point at, someone to blame. And look, sometimes they're right. Sometimes people are treated unfairly. Sometimes allegations are true. Sometimes allegations are false. Sometimes abuse is ignored. And sometimes contact is obstructed. Sometimes judges make mistakes. They're human. They're really human. Human beings make mistakes. But here's what I find fascinating. The public conversation isn't really about fixing the problem anymore. It's about winning the argument. And they're not the same thing. Because once people choose a side, something strange happens. The facts stop mattering. Now, all that matters is protecting the tribe. Everything becomes men versus women, mothers versus fathers, victims versus abusers, good people versus bad people. But real life doesn't work like that. Real life is messy. Real life is complicated. Real life is full of decent people making terrible decisions while they're hurt. And family court sees people at their worst, not their best, at their worst. When they're angry, when they're frightened, when they're exhausted, when they're grieving, when they're desperate to be believed. And that's why these cases become so difficult, because everyone wants justice, but everyone defines justice differently. One person wants protection. Another one wants contact. One wants accountability. Another one wants a second chance. And all of them think they're fighting for what is right. Now, here's the question, the real question, the uncomfortable question. When did we stop talking about the child? Think about it. Every debate eventually comes back around to about the adults, the mother's rights, the father's rights, the judge, the lawyers, the professionals, the campaign groups, the politics, everybody except the person the system was built for, the child. And maybe that's why these conversations go nowhere, because when adults start competing over who suffered the most, the child becomes background noise, a supporting character in a story that's supposed to be about them. And that's tragic, because children don't care about ideology. They don't care about hashtags. They don't care about newspaper headlines. They care about stability, safety, love, consistency, people who keep their word. And the truth is, that's probably the one thing everyone in this debate should be able to agree on. Not whether men have got it harder, not whether women have got it harder, but whether we're making decisions that are genuinely helping the children. Because if we lose sight of that, it doesn't matter who wins the argument, because we've already lost. Conflict causes trauma.